Ooh, what's up GameLeapers? I'm known as the Jizz, and patch 11.12 is now live. How exciting is that? And in this video, I'm going to be revealing the 3 best champions for each role. So these are the cream of the crop, and these bad boys are going to give you the best chance of getting out of the abyss you are currently in. Bronze in Turkey, Gold in OCE, Diamond in NA, these are for everyone. So stick around for the whole video, and if you want to master any of these champions so you can reel in that LP this patch, we have expert courses, guides, and VOD analyses on the GameLeap website that are made by Challenger players and coaches to help you become one of us. So for more of the Jizz and Co, click on one of the links in the description or comment section. Now we're going to start in the mid lane, guys, and coming in at number 3, the 3rd best mid laner of 11-12 is Rumble. Now I know lots of people are still playing Rumble in the top lane and sometimes in the jungle, but for those of you playing Rumble mid, good job, my thumb is up for you. Now the reason Rumble mid, guys, is by far his best role is because getting priority in this lane is pretty much free. And with your priority, well, why is this so important? Well, this gives you the first move on the map when the scuttle crabs spawn, so when your jungler's pinging for help, you can go there and help them out. And because of your early game strengths, you pretty much get your Sorcerer Shoes spike for free, then your Hextech Rocket Belt spike for free, and at that point in the game, it's so hard to even come near you, even in the laning phase, now that you have 50% attack speed in your passive, so when you overheat, you're getting a ridiculous amount of attack speed. This means that in terms of weak points, you don't really have any. So Rumble comes in as number 3. Now beating Rumble is the 2nd best mid laner in 11-12, guys, is Annie, and Annie has been one of the strongest champions, let alone mid laners, on the Rift for ages now. And the main reason for this, like Rumble, is the Sorcerer Shoes and Hextech Rock Belt combination. Now ever since Riot changed Hextech Rock Belt a few patches ago, so that now you get magic penetration right off the bat, this means that your mythic power spike with Rocket Belt is a lot stronger, and the magic penetration with Annie, because you have high AP ratios and your base damages are high, this means with the magic penetration you hit like a truck. In the laning phase as well, you have decent-ish wave clear, you have good harass because you have the highest auto attack range out of any mid laner, so you can bully those close range melee champions. You also have great setup, of course, with your stun. You also have your E, which is good if you do get ganked or if the enemy champion jumps onto you. And you pretty much always have kill pressure because of that stun and because of your high damage. So Annie comes in at number 2. Now beating her to the number 1 mid laner spot is Qiyana. So for you AD assassins out there, I know Talon got nerfed in the mid lane this patch, well Qiyana is still the nuts. Even though Riot removes some of that movement speed you have when you're holding an element, this hasn't really changed much. The fact that you can still get your Lucidity boost, you can still get Prowler's Call, you can still get Serpent's Fang, even Muramana, Sororita's Grudge, whatever you really go for, you have the potential of snowballing your lane and then just 1v9ing the entire game after that. We also have to remember that in the mid lane, mages are generally weaker now because of the Seeker's Arm Guard nerf, so there is less resistance to AD champions, Qiyana in particular, and in lower eloads as well, Qiyana's just won't get punished. You know, players don't auto-attack you, they don't harass you when you go up for a CS, so you get to level 3, you get to level 6 pretty much free of charge, at which point the game is already GG, even if you're even in CS, like it's just game over. So Qiyana comes in as the best mid laner of 11-12. Now we're going to switch it up here, guys, and go to the bot lane, and we're going to talk about the ADCs, so the 3 best ADCs of 11-12, and a couple of these might surprise you here. Now coming in at number 3 is Draven, and your spinning axes, your Q, these are going to do more damage now based off your bonus AD, so the more AD you have from items in your runes, the more damage your spinning axe is going to do, which is great. This is your main skill, right? You max this first, this is your main damage output, this is just awesome for the laning phase, and of course those early to mid game, even late game team fights as well. But you're not going to really realize this effect if you don't catch your axes and if you don't actually practice Draven and if you're just bad at him. So get in the practice tool, get practicing catching your axes, because I guarantee it, if you can play Draven at a decent-ish level, you are going to relish these changes and your win rate is going to go up by a decent amount. I'm calling it now. So Draven comes in at number 3. Now beating Draven to the number 2 spot in the ADC department is Ezreal. And you might be like, Ezreal? You know, it wasn't that long ago since the Jizz mentioned Ezreal in the Worst Champions video. But here's the thing, guys, with League, sometimes just one little item change can make a champion who's really bad go from really bad to really good. And this is what has happened to Ezreal because of Divine Sundra. Because you're dealing more damage to champions with more HP, and lots of champions in the game will build items that have HP with them, even if they're a mage, even if they're a bruiser, their items have HP as part of it. And you'll also be healing for more of the Sheen damage as well, and remember, with your Sheen damage, well, your Q procs it, which is obviously great. You've also got Muramana in there, you've also got Frozen Heart, which has been buffed multiple times this season, and because of this build, Ezreal now becomes a much more earlier force in a game, which is great, because you don't want to wait until 4 or 5 items to be useful, because the game's probably already over. So now, as soon as you get Divine Sundra, you can 1v1 champions, you can actually be a force and carry games. And when you get to Muramana, when you get to Frozen Heart, not only are you tanky and hard to bring down, you also do a ridiculous amount of damage damage and have the ability haste to throw out your spells and win games single-handedly. Now, beating Ezreal to the #1 spot, guys, is Jinx. Now, Jinx has been the #1 ADC for a few patches now, and the reason Jinx is still #1 is because of her synergy with the best supports at the moment. So if you think of Shurelya's battle song, right, which is now giving you movement speed when your supports empower you or buff you or shield you, whatever it is, this means that for Jinx, movement speed, well, is one of the most important stats. Because you don't actually really have a dash like an Ezreal, you need mobility to kite around skill shots, to evade damage, and to keep doing damage as well. And we should probably also mention that Jinx did get buffed earlier in the season, so your base HP went up, your rockets range increased, which gives you way more harass and range in the lane, and when you're using your rockets, your attack speed has been reduced by a heck of a lot less, which means that you can get more attacks off and therefore more harass and range, and hopefully more kills and assists. So Jinx comes in as the best ADC for another patch. Now let's go all the way to the top lane, guys, for these next 3 champions, and the 3 best top laners starting us off here is Nocturne. Now Nocturne still isn't really getting played as much as he should be in the top lane, because lots of people are still playing in the jungle or playing him in the mid lane. Guys, it's time to stop. I'm telling you, top lane Nocturne is where it's at. But why would you play Nocturne in the top lane? Well, I'll tell you. You have the best wave clear out of any top laner. So at level 1, you can just Q the wave, auto attack the wave with your passive, and you get the push. You get to level 2 guaranteed. You're very hard to fight because of the fear, because of your W, because of your Q, because of your passive, the sustain, the DPS, Conqueror as well. And a bit like Rumble, because you have insane early game pressure, you get to level 6 free of charge, which then means you don't just have to use your ultimate in your lane, but across the map. So if you want to impact the enemy jungle, if you want to just run bot lane after you base, you can run bot lane and pick up a couple of kills, TP back top lane. There are so many options here and ways for Nocturne to influence the entire map, which sometimes, if not most of the time, then just winning your lane, because at the end of the day, we want to win the game. Winning your lane is just one part of it. So Nocturne comes in at number 3, and make sure you build Stridebreaker, Steris Gauge, and Guardian's Angel if you do go Nocturne in the top lane. Now, beating Nocturne to the number 2 spot is a champion who got nerfed this patch, and this is Wukong. So your Q's damage is down, and your AD per level is down. Oh my goodness. So your mid to late game has been hit a little bit here, but nowhere near as hard as probably it should have been, and this is why Wukong remains as one of the best top laners. Your laning phase is still going to be nuts, right? You've got your passive, which gives you insane tankiness in the laning phase. You've got your Q, which is still going to do decent damage. It's also got ridiculous range. You've got your W, which you can use when you get ganked, or if you're getting a gank as well, or even in the 1v1, you can use it as an extra dash. You've got your E, which acts as a gap closer and gives you attack speed, so you can stack your Conqueror quicker, and then your ultimate, of course, well, you've actually got 2 of these, which is really the icing on the cake. So despite the mid to late game nerfs for Wukong, easily with Divine Sunderer, with Black Cleaver as well, and the second best top laner. Now, the best top laner, I just mentioned Wukong with Black Cleaver, well, Riven with Black Cleaver, and then Gore Drinker is the nuts, the number 1. Now, she might not have the best win rate in lower elos, but you know why? That's because people in lower elos have no idea how to play Riven. Because she is, in my opinion anyway, one of the hardest, if not the hardest champion. Like, there's a massive difference between the best Rivens in the world compared to someone who's even just good at Riven. There's a big difference there. But even still, if you're a novice on Riven, she's in such a strong position, really because of her items with Gore Drinker, Black Cleaver. These got buffed recently, but also Riven herself, right? Your E's cooldown got reduced, so now, well, later in a game with Gore Drinker's mythic passive, you can be E'ing every 3 seconds, which is absurd, right? And because you're healing for more with Gore Drinker's active now, you are close to impossible to take down in team fights, and you also one-shot everyone. So Riven comes in as the number 1 top laner, guys, for 11-12. Now, moving on, we're going to switch it up here and talk about the supports for this patch and the 3 best, and number 3 is Thresh. Now, Thresh has been nerfed recently, right? But guess what? His win rate is still super solid. In fact, in high elo, it's like 52, 53% still, which goes to show just how innately strong Thresh is. Like, it doesn't really matter how much you nerf him, he's always going to have that utility, that pressure in lane, that value in team fights because of his lantern. If you land one death sentence on a primary target, it can be GG. And he's also one of the best roaming supports as well. So if you can get your mobility boots right off the bat, you roam to mid lane, maybe even top lane, or you make a play in the enemy jungle, it's a great carry support to pick. And like I said, he's also one of the best peelers in the game as well, right? So if your ADC's in trouble or you think you're getting ganked, just play back near your tower and throw out their lantern when they're getting ganked, and it's easy. And you waste the enemy's time. So Thresh comes in at number 3. Now, coming in at number 2, I mentioned before how Jinx, well, she's the number 1 AD carry because of how well she harmonizes with the Shurelya's battle song supports, and the top 2 supports are Karma and Lulu. Now, for Karma, that's the thing. When you W or E your teammate with Shurelya's battle song, you and them are getting movement speed, which means they're harder to kill, and also means that they can do more damage because they have that movement speed to gap close to the enemy champions and to keep dealing damage. So Karma comes in at number 2, and the reason Lulu Lulu is ahead of Karma as number 1 is simply because she has more abilities that actually proc Shurelya's. So she's got her W, her E, and then her ultimate as well. And not to mention the fact that Lulu compared to Karma is just a better peeler because of her polymorph and because of the knock-up with her ultimate. There's a bit more CC in there and way more counterplay. If you do have a Zed jumping onto your AD carry, for example, or a Camille getting in there, you can actually peel them a lot better than a Karma can. Now, the last champion role we have to talk about, guys, is the jungle. And once again, if you want to master any of these champions, if you want to master any of the roles we've talked about, make sure to check out the GameLeap website and get signed up like thousands of your fellow summoners. You see, when we upload close to 20 exclusive videos a week, guys, for our members, we don't do it for a joke. They're not on there just because we have to. We do it because we care about you. We want you to learn. We want you to become the best you can be. So get signed up, links down below. Now, the 3 junglers, okay, so coming in at number 3 is Xin Zhao, and Xin Zhao has been making a lot of noise recently because of the synergy with Halo Blades, and then with Eclipse or even Immortal Shield Bow, which is an option you can take. Now, thanks to the recent jungle changes where if you do fall behind because you're perma-ganking and perma-fighting, you can catch up quicker, and also because the camps now respawn every 2 minutes 15 seconds instead of every 2 minutes, this means you don't have to worry about farming as much because Xin Zhao isn't the best farmer in the game, because doing walls, doing raptors, doing krugs can be a bit of a pain. But because of these changes, this gives you more leeway to go and gank lanes to fight the enemy jungle, which is really your strength. Like, I don't know if there's a better 1v1er in the game in the jungle. When you have Red Smite, when you have Eclipse or Shield Bow, Ninja Tigers, like no one is going to come near you. So Xin Zhao comes in at number 3. Now, the second best jungler of 11-12 is Lee Sin, who's also really good in lanes, mid lane and top lane, but in the jungle, this is where he really shines. And again, because of the jungle changes where you don't have to rely on full clearing as much these days because of the changes, just like Xin Zhao, this means that you can focus on what you're good at, 1v1ing the enemy jungler or enemy champions and ganking lanes and making plays. Now, in terms of the build for Lee Sin 2, it's a bit like Riven's build with Gore Drinker with Black Cleaver, the ability haste, the damage, the armor reduction, the HP. Like, not only are you very hard to kill, but you also do a ridiculous amount of damage. So when you jump into that enemy backline, not only can the enemy champions not kill you, first of all, you can kill them very easily indeed. So Lee Sin comes in as the second best jungler. Now, the best jungler, and this might surprise some of you, is an AP champion, and this is Fiddlesticks. Now, for Fiddlesticks, you want one of the few junglers left in the game who can full clear and get to that first scuttle crab before it spawns. That's right. So this is one of the reasons you're still so good, because you can get to level 4, you can get to 900 gold for free, and at that point, you're only a couple of levels away from your real big power spike, which is level 6, of course. And in terms of the jungle, this is the biggest, most impactful ultimate on the Rift, right? Like, if you get one good Crow Storm off, it's over. Like with Addy and Rumble as well, the Sorcerer Shoes, the Hextech Rocket Belt build, once you get Zhonya's in there as well, Void Staff, Death Cap, whatever you go for at that point, these major items do so much damage for you with your Crow Storm and your other abilities, of course, that it's never not going to be effective. It's just that strong. Especially in lower elos where people don't actually realize you're playing Fiddlesticks and they'll let you get 5-man ultimates off all the time. So Fiddlesticks comes in as the best jungler in the game in 11-12, guys. So hopefully this list gave you an insight on the best champions you have to play for the next 2 weeks. This has been the Jizz, and until tomorrow's video, remember to hit that sub button. Bye!